People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. Alright, yeah.
I want to introduce the host of Strange Darkness Radio, Bobby Washington and Tony Carr.
We are back again for another show. And on tonight's show, we have a special co-host. Back again is Silverayne. And Silverayne, I want to thank you again for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, definitely. On tonight's show, we're going to get into haunted dolls, and we're going to get into the Dybbuk Box. For those of you who may not be familiar with Dybbuk Box or whatever, we'll definitely explain that because it is an interesting item. Tony, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You couldn't join me at the Parapod Festival, but it was amazing. No. And I want to thank the fans again for nominating us for the Parapod Awards. We were the second finalist in the UFO category. I always want to say ghost because I was surprised we were nominated for UFO. But it was a fun event. Met numerous people. Met Billy Carson for the first time, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, just a bunch of people in the industry that have been, around for decades that have just amazing amount of knowledge or whatever. So that was really cool to do. So I want to thank the fans. I was
there. Maybe next year if we get nominated again, I'll come next year.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, because it is a reoccurring event that's going to be, going on every year now. And it's good to know that we were, one of the first podcasts, to be along with the three others in that group to be the finalists. So that was pretty cool. So Silverayne, what have you been up to? I know you have a lot going on. You can let people know your socials. I know you have a LinkedIn social that ties to all your accounts.
Yes, I have my Linktree social. What have I been up to? Just trying to get my business launched and being able to form my own investigative paranormal team.
Oh, nice. Actually going out and clearing homes and looking for ghosts, huh?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's, we're kind of talking about it a little bit, because we have a couple of, people who've called into the show who want us to come out and, check out their places and, do like a live podcast. So we're thinking about it. We're still undecided at this point.
Very much up in the air right now.
Yeah, because we want to make sure if we ever do anything like that, we're well protected and we don't bring anything home and any negativity, that, goes with us. So,
when I go out to any haunted location, I bring salt water with me.
Oh,
spray it on my shoes. It's a good, to keep things from following you home.
Okay, good tips.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah. So, anything else? I mean, is there a particular, saying or prayer that you say to stop ghosts from, coming home with you or something and being attached to you, or do you sage yourself at all, or anything like that?
So I do use sage. There's a lot of hot button issue as far as it being a closed practice, etc. And I personally use sage, and I get my sage from a reputable indigenous source.
Oh.
And that is key, is if you're going to use sage, because it does get over harvested, just making sure that it comes from a reputable indigenous source and that you're using it for good intention and not calling it smudging if you're not part of the indigenous culture.
Wow. That is good information, because I didn't even think about that. You know, as far as making sure, you have some sage with you, and then next thing you know, it's like it's not working right. Something seems to still be in my house or whatever. Because a lot of people do that. They smudge their own house. They do their own home clearing because they don't know. They're just watching what they see on YouTube and stuff like
Right.
that.
So what I do for a home clearing is, when I do an investigation, I want to check all the boxes to make sure that it is in fact paranormal and not a mundane answer. Older homes will make noise, they will settle, they will groan. Making sure that it's not your refrigerant making noise, because refrigerators make noise. And when it's actually paranormal, so what I like to do is I like to start in the living room and work myself counterclockwise. And by going room to room, I like to make a lot of noise. What you are doing is you are driving whatever is in a room out. You want it to pay attention to you. And then I usually will be very stern and telling it to get out. And it's a lengthy process, but I have done them before.
Yeah.
I banish them, and then what I'll do after that is I will take salt water and I will do what is called a sealing. Is basically what I do is I will draw a pentagram in the air, and that basically seals that area. And water outlets, anywhere where water can come into your house, faucets, sinks, toilets, mirrors, and doorways are portals. So I close all those, I seal all those, and then I very rarely have any infestation after that.
Wow, that's really cool.
I mean, my personal thing is TikTok might have some useful information on it, but TikTok should not be the end all be all of, I'm just going to watch a TikTok video and think I'm going to seal my house.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. I think a lot of the reason, though, that people go to TikTok and YouTube, because they're afraid to go to their pastor or their priest or to tell people about what's going on. So hopefully they can, seek out people like yourself, to really give them a hand and, clear a house the correct way. Because again, I'm not sure if it angers the spirit, or if it's not done correctly, do they have, more activity than not? But if that is a possibility, it's better to seek out someone who can truly help you. And the people that you're seeking out, like Silverayne, they're going to be understanding. They're not going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, what, there's no such thing as ghosts, So definitely, you're in the Oregon area, correct, Silverayne?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So you guys, if you need a clearing, seek her out.
Yes, I am available for that. And it's, I like helping people heal from their hauntings as well. And sometimes it turns out to be a case of the person actually wants to live in harmony with their house spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you buy an old farmhouse and then you start redecorating and the previous owner is still there, they're not going to be happy with you, messing with their home. So I also teach people and help people come to terms and make peace with the house spirit, and they can usually live in harmony after that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. People should really, again, really consider that when they, go to do these things, especially for older homes, the Victorian style homes, or homes that are, been around since, the 1800s and all that good stuff. And then I believe, I know I got to get this website down, whatever. It's Died in House. I'm not sure if it's the same, but you can check and see if someone's actually passed away in your home. If you have been, having different type of experiences, and you don't think it's a loved one or a relative or something like that. But yeah, definitely.
I'm in a group on Facebook, and a gal was talking about, her child was talking with, child spirits.
Ooh.
And there was a person on there, of course, that was like, oh, be careful, it could be a demon pretending to be a child. And of course, I had to chime in. And he's like, no, I've seen it. I watched, someone getting possessed, and it was called the Sally House. And apparently you can like look it up on YouTube, and there's people that went to the Sally House, and there's this little girl named Sally that apparently died in the house. And I was basically watching these teenage boys tormenting and trying to get a rise out of this little girl. Like doing parlor tricks, if you're here, kick a ball. If you're here, do this.
Yeah.
And pretty much aggravating this little girl that she lashed out. And that's the thing that I don't like about some ghost hunting shows is, yes, show yourself, make yourself present. And you have all these people that have come into their space that you're filming, and you have a camera crew, and you have like 10, 15, 20 people with you. At some point, the ghost is going to get aggravated, and they're going to lash out. They're going to scratch you. They're going to push you. They're just going to act out, because in reality, they're not there for a parlor trick.
Yeah,
they're not there to, if you want to, yes, make a noise if you're here and you get a noise, leave it at that. Use your equipment, if you have it, to start communicating with the spirit and asking them what they want.
Yeah.
Instead of just, continuing to poke the bear.
Yeah, and that's why I don't know if I really want to go to a location and do that, because I'm not really interested in what they want. I'm interested in them, being there, and them, is it a probability, only because I can't do anything for them. I don't have, I'm not skilled like yourself and in those practices, and I don't even want to, let or make anyone, think that, we are there to try to exorcise any ghost, from someone's house or an apartment, opposed to just document what's occurring.
90% of the time is what I've noticed is just any acknowledgement of their existence. Like, I acknowledge your presence. Please move on from this place, or let's live in harmony with each other.
Yeah.
And just simply just asking them to move on sometimes just works.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to make all this noise to get somebody's attention.
Exactly. And, they could be doing it to make contact, with trying to like, hey, is it a particular relative, can you contact my loved one or whatever else? And, who knows?
Right.
But
I do know that when I'm by myself in my apartment, I have a whole source of activity.
Oh, wow.
And, the trying to draw my attention out of my bedroom by making noise, slamming on surfaces, kicking doors, banging on walls. And I think it was the other day that I literally had enough. Like, okay, I don't know what you want, but you have my attention.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, we either need to learn how to live together, or you need to get out. I'm done. And it was pretty much quiet after that. Like, stop banging in my house.
Yeah. Wow.
At this point, you're scaring my cats, and that's a no. That's no. You don't touch the animals. You don't mess with the animals.
Yeah. But yeah, that's amazing. That you can even, do that and communicate with them, and they understand. But I have heard that a lot, as far as being, forceful in the sense of, hey, this is my space now, and we need to be able to coexist. If you can't be able to pass that particular spirit on, and a lot of people don't, want to. They're like, go ahead and live your whatever existence that's going on. But
then I encourage people to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Then that's when you encourage boundaries, is you don't touch me, you don't touch my loved ones in this house, you don't mess with my friends, you leave my children and my pets alone.
Yeah. Because Tony's been scratched numerous times.
Yeah, I have.
You know, were there hauntings, Tony, or was just when you guys were messing with the Ouija board, or what was the circumstances around that?
No, I wouldn't say it was like right after messing with it. It would be the time. It would just be the time would be months afterwards.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, like the last time it happened, I haven't messed with the Ouija board in like years.
Yeah.
You know, but I had walked into a kitchen at where I worked. They had like two Ouija boards there, and so it was open. And I think from that point, when I seen it and I walked past it, I think like a couple hours later, that's when I got scratched.
Interesting. Okay, but yeah, we definitely gotta do a Ouija board podcast or whatever, and hopefully Silverayne will grace us with her expertise skills, because Tony's was an avid Ouija board. What is it called? Ouija boardist, Ouija board user, or
I would call it a Ouija board user. I don't really haven't heard any weird nicknames attached to it. I mean, I have my own Ouija board myself that I do sessions and I upload them to my Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I mean, 90% of the time it's like I turn on my phone to do EVP sessions, and if it picks up anything, and it's most of the times it's usually nonsense. Sometimes I'll get a name to come through.
Oh, okay.
There is this old farmhouse style home right next door to my apartment, and I don't like the energy of this house at all.
Yeah.
So I don't even want to walk on the property. It's just bad. Rumor has it is my apartment building is on old Native American burial grounds, and I wouldn't put it past the developers doing that without acknowledgement of doing, ground penetrating radar to make sure that you're not on top of graves.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the feeling that you don't want to go there? Like, what's the feeling you get?
So I usually have kind of sort of prophetic dreams of if I want to do something, and then I'm shown the outcome if I mess around with this. And it's usually I end up walking to the woods that are a little bit further away from the house. And every time I decide to do that or bring a group of people with me to see if there's any activity, that I unintentionally bring something home. And I always feel like I'm being watched from something in the woods. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It could very well be a skinwalker. And those aren't things you want to mess with.
Yeah. Ooh.
Interesting. Interesting.
That is extremely interesting, because again, like you said, you don't know. I mean, different parts of certain land and areas that, the government, seized or taken over, people bought, purchased, what is buried there. So it's very interesting. Well, let's go ahead and get into haunted dolls. Let's go.
Welcome to Strange Darkness Radio Show on Haunted Dolls, where we explore the eerie tales surrounding some of the most infamous and terrifying dolls in history. In this episode, we'll be discussing the stories of Robert the Doll, Annabelle the Doll, and Ruby the Haunted Doll. First up, let's talk about Robert the Doll. Robert the Doll was a well-known haunted doll that resides in East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. Robert's story dates back to the early 1900s, where he was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto. According to legend, the doll was originally given to the boy by a servant who practiced voodoo and was angry at the family. The doll was handmade and hand-dressed in a sailor's outfit. Soon after receiving the doll, strange things began to happen around Otto's household. The young boy claimed that the doll was alive and that it was moving on its own. The family claimed to hear the doll talking and laughing in the middle of the night. Even visitors to the house reported seeing the doll's expressions change or seeing it move on its own. As Robert grew older, he continued to keep the doll by his side. However, it was said that the doll's influence on Robert became more and more sinister. Robert would often blame the doll for mischievous and sometimes harmful pranks that he played on others. When Robert passed away in 1974, the doll was donated to the museum where he still resides to this day. Next, let's discuss Annabelle, the haunted doll. Annabelle's story gained widespread attention through the 2013 horror film, The Conjuring, and its subsequent spin-off, Annabelle. Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll that is said to be possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to the story, the doll was given to a young woman named Donna by her mother in the late 1960s. Donna and her roommate Angie soon began to notice strange things happening around the apartment. The doll would move on its own and leave notes written on parchment paper that neither of the women had in their possession. The woman eventually contacted a medium who informed them that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The woman contacted a priest who took the doll and performed an exorcism on it. However, the exorcism did not seem to work, and the doll was eventually donated to the Warren's Occult Museum, where it remains to this day. Finally, let's talk about Ruby, the haunted doll. Ruby is a porcelain doll that is said to be possessed by the spirit of a young girl who died in a house fire in the early 1900s. The doll was originally discovered in an antique store by a woman named Deborah, who purchased the doll as a gift for her daughter. Soon after bringing the doll home, Deborah began to notice strange things happening around the house. The doll's eyes would follow her as she moved around the room, and she would often hear sounds of a child laughing coming from the doll. Deborah eventually contacted a psychic who confirmed that the doll was possessed by a spirit of a young girl who died in a house fire. The medium recommended Deborah to remove the doll from the house, and she donated it to a local museum. Haunted dolls have been a popular topic of discussion and fascination for many years. The stories of Robert the Doll, Annabelle the Haunted Doll, and Ruby are just a few examples of many eerie tales that surround these mysterious and often terrifying objects. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, there's no denying that the stories of these haunted dolls are both intriguing and unsettling.
You're listening to Strange Darkness Radio, coming to you worldwide, broadcasting to all corners of the planet.
All right. That is a bunch of different dolls that the stories are amazing with that. But do you, what's up, Tony? Go ahead.
It's interesting, man. You know, my thought is always like, how do these dolls get possessed in the first place? Or how do they get haunted in the first place? You know, we always hear the story of the origins of their stories, but it's been, you know, a long time ago. Like, is it even true that these origins or the beginning was the actual beginning and not just a different story, you know?
Exactly. No, that's definitely true. Silverayne, what do you think about the whole concept of spirits being kept or locked into dolls and different type of objects.
Oh, I totally believe in haunted dolls, and it mostly happens when either an adult has died and it doesn't immediately dissipate afterwards, or a child that dies and they inhabit a doll. I follow an account on Instagram, and she has a haunted doll, and they've learned to cohabitate with one another.
Oh, okay. So she knows. I mean, she looked for, because I know there are some people who actually find and collect haunted dolls on eBay, and some people sell different things, whatever, that people who are looking for things in that realm. So is she one of those type of people, or she just had a doll that happened to be haunted?
I believe she happened to happen upon a doll that is haunted, but she also frequently sees the spirit of the doll and communicates with her.
Oh, wow.
So, and nothing but positive stuff has happened. So it's not
okay. So
anything
it's
to be
not.
concerned about.
Now, is that a thing to where some spirits are, just like regular people, to where they're not, demonic, or in the sense of, again, I know how you feel about that word and demons in general, but evil. I'm going to use evil.
Yeah, there's evil people that they were not nice in life, and when they die, they're just as even more spiteful.
Mm-hmm.
That have taken over dolls. As far as the Annabelle doll,
Yeah.
I have a problem with mediums and psychics, especially. I like more than one person, more than one medium or psychic, to confirm whether or not a doll is haunted.
Yeah.
I mean, are they saying yes for notoriety? Do I believe the possibility? Is Annabelle haunted? Probably. I don't see a child acting maliciously towards anyone.
Yeah. That's why initially they were saying that, supposedly the priest who tried to do the exorcist on the Annabelle doll, that he basically, was like, no, this is actually evil spirit, and it's not, a child. It's an actual evil spirit, and it just used that as a ruse to, get them to, not really try to exorcise the doll. Yeah, to trust and
I find another issue that I have is there are some spirits that don't obey or recognize Christ at all.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of tribes that don't recognize the Christian God. They recognize nature, and so to make the assumption that everybody's going to obey Christ is kind of foolish and somewhat insulting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's think about that for a second, because we don't even comprehend that, as far as like, indigenous people or Native Americans, or whether even African slaves that came over or whatever, that were killed and that weren't brought to Christ or brought to the certain Christian religions, didn't have a clue. Yeah, they wouldn't even know who people are talking about when they're sitting there saying, in the name of God. They were like, what's going on? They wouldn't have a clue, and you don't really think about that.
So, and the funny thing, my friend and I were actually talking about exorcisms, and I just find it really peculiar that it's only, exorcisms are extremely hush-hush in the Catholic Church anyways.
Yeah.
And it's only like the person that's allegedly possessed and the priest that does the exorcism in the room. No other witnesses. Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, the person who clearly needs medical attention and you're doing an exorcism where you believe they are, you're going to tell a fantastic story to, and I honestly believe, sure, it's called walking in, and some people, like spirits, can walk into your body if your defenses are low.
Yeah.
All of, you know, the demons that I know and work with and am familiar with, they're not going to do that. So, I mean, there's other evil humans that are going to, and sure, you just have an evil spirit that just was walked into an susceptible body. Of course, they're going to make it do magic tricks and do all sorts of crazy stuff.
She said magic tricks. Yeah, no, seriously, yeah. Making stuff, move. I know the Annabelle doll, they say, they would come into a room and be sitting in one position, then would be moved to another position. I'm not sure if I believe the whole thing about the parchment paper to where it would, write like little notes, whatever, and leave, the parchment paper sitting around. I'm like, okay, so did it materialize parchment paper? Like you don't normally have that in your home, and then all of a sudden,
I would call that, looking at the time frame of when Annabelle allegedly happened, and that young ladies were very susceptible to men in their lives making suggestions and to tell a fantastic story that would last for all of lifetime, considering we're talking about it in 2023.
That's true.
We're going to have someone coming into the house and either playing a practical joke, or the young ladies were in on this parchment paper, let's make a fantastical story.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the other friend named Lou, who said the doll, Annabelle was at his feet and then started like choking him and, just different things. It's like, yeah, I can see where that's going. But also,
I mean, I looked at the doll. It's an old fashioned Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
I had one of those as a child.
Yeah. Just for you guys out there, I just want to let the public know that the doll on the Conjuring is not the same doll. That's actually that they're talking about. It's a Raggedy Ann doll, Raggedy Ann and Andy. And the other doll is more like Robert the doll. Actually, it's more like a wooden kind of looks porcelain, but I believe it's wooden with hair. It's bigger size doll and everything else. For the creep factor, but it's a totally small little Raggedy Ann doll is what Annabelle.
Or no, she's about life size. She's fairly large. They made them, they made them in small, and they made ones that were probably about, if you stood them up and held them, like their feet touching the ground and you held them up, they're about 3 feet tall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I can't imagine this doll, because I saw a clip of their museum and she's supposed to be behind glass, and there's a sign that says absolutely positively do not open kind of thing. And I'm sensitive to being able to pick up on energies, even being able to read rooms, because I read photos for people and can pick up those energies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really fantastic gift shop with a whole bunch of neat items. And to gain your popularity and notoriety is we're going to say all these objects are haunted.
Yeah.
I mean, unless, I follow two people on social media, that's their lifestyle, is a traveling haunted paranormal museum.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in contact with haunted objects all the time. So I would trust their judgment over these haunted artifacts. And the haunted artifacts, aside from Annabelle, are just sitting freely on shelves.
Exactly. That's true.
If they are really truly haunted, as you say they are, don't have it freely on a shelf where you can bump into it.
Yeah. I know Robert the doll, there's a lot of different experiences with that where people will, taunt it, do things to it, say they don't believe in front of it and all kind of other things. And then they would have some crazy thing happen in their life, then they would either send notes or come back and leave notes on the glass saying sorry, for taunting, Robert the doll, because they believe that, that the
Yeah.
doll cursed them. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. No, I read that as well. That people has got bad luck, like bad juju when talking crap to what's his name again? Robert the doll.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it seemed like this. It seemed like it's the same way with Annabelle. They have this doll at the museum. I forgot what the name is. At Zak Bagans Museum. There's the same way with that one too. You have to say hi when you go in. You have to say bye when you leave. And if you talk crap, then it's like opposing you get bad, bad juju, bad karma, if you disrespect the doll in front of it.
I wonder, in scenarios like that, because your mind is a powerful thing, and that whole thing will play, on your mind to where, oh, it's because I did this or this happened, and now I have bad luck, and and so it's a little downward spiral, and kind of like that placebo thing. What do you think about that, Silverayne?
Right. Yeah, I mean, people are your own worst enemy sometimes. I run into a lot of people. I just dealt with a client and did a tarot card reading for her because she was asking whether or not her and her mother were cursed. And I'm just like, that's a very powerful psychological tool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe that all these awful, horrible things are happening to your life, and if you believe in curses, people automatically want to jump to that.
Yeah.
Instead of, let's take a step back and reevaluate what exactly is happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having all these medical symptoms happening to you, I suggest that you go to a doctor.
Yeah. That's true.
And you also have the power to change your own energy. If you are a person, you wake up and you set the intent for the day. So if you decide because it's raining outside, or you didn't wake up in time to your alarm, or you stepped in a puddle with a sock on, that you have decided that not only you're going to have a miserable day, it's going to be a terrible day today.
Exactly. That's the worst.
And your subconscious records everything that you say out loud. So guess what? You set the tone for you having a crappy day.
Yeah.
You hit every single red light. You lose your keys. So yeah, if you want to change your day, regardless of everything that happens, try having a little bit of positivity.
Exactly. Well, you gave me flashbacks and elementary school traumas because I tried all the positivity in the world, but my wet socks that I had to keep in my shoes when I stepped in a puddle all day, that was the worst. That's
Yeah,
so
that
funny.
will sour your mood no matter how much you try to be positive.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying you have to have like a positive, cheery, sunshine attitude all day long. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But just trying to and I've been sometimes you can't see the bigger picture and just have to just deal with it.
Yep.
But she wasn't cursed. There isn't any, sure, there's jealous people in your life, but as far as, all these things that are happening in your life, I suggest you go to a doctor. If you're having rashes, if you're being sick, go to a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose you.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's very true.
And what I can do is I can teach people mindfulness techniques. It's a thing that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that would help out significantly, and again they'll find out whether or not again it's all too about going, like you said, going to the doctor, just getting checked out, making sure you're physically okay, but then also mentally getting checked out, mentally self-help, self-check.
But what I find interesting, of the off chance that these dolls, and the people that I know that do this sort of thing, I believe they went and saw Robert the Doll and even did sessions with Robert the Doll,
Yeah.
there wasn't anything malicious in that doll.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a child that's bored,
Yeah.
that is going to play with people. And if you're going to, poke the bear, you're going to get a reaction that's not so nice.
Yeah.
And people tend to forget he may be as old as he is. He's still a child spirit.
That's true.
Why are you poking at a child spirit?
People do the craziest things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They don't like children. They don't like children that much. They're going to poke at them.
Exactly. And then also they
yeah.
pay the price. Come back, leave a note, say sorry.
So even if people just say for the off chance there really is a child spirit in that doll and you are not nice to it, and then your mind decided to go with all this stuff happening in your life is because you picked on a child spirit.
Yeah. Yep. That should be bad karma within itself, regardless of,
right?
Robert sitting there working his little magic and all that good stuff. But also tonight we have two people who emailed in, and so we're going to go ahead and tell their email stories, and
Okay.
We'll see what they're talking about.
Hi, Strange Darkness Radio. The story I'm about to tell you is about a doll named Lily, a porcelain doll that was believed to be cursed. The doll was owned by a woman named Sarah, who had inherited it from her grandmother. Sarah had always been fascinated by the doll, with its delicate features, golden ringlets, and big blue eyes. But soon after Sarah brought the doll home, strange things began to happen. She would wake up in the middle of the night to find the doll sitting at the foot of her bed, staring at her with an eerie intensity. Sometimes, she would hear faint whispers coming from the doll's room, as if someone were speaking in hushed tones. As time went on, the haunting became more intense. Sarah's friends and family members would come to her house and refuse to even enter the room where the doll was kept, feeling an overwhelming sense of fear and dread. Some people claimed that they could feel a cold breeze coming from the doll's direction, even though there was no open window or door. Sarah eventually contacted a paranormal investigator, who conducted an investigation of the doll and the house. The investigator claimed to have made contact with the spirit of a young girl, who had been the original owner of the doll. According to the investigator, the girl had died under mysterious circumstances, and her spirit had attached itself to the doll. The investigator recommended that Sarah get rid of the doll, but she was hesitant to do so. She had become attached to the doll, despite its terrifying presence in her home. However, she eventually decided that it was too dangerous to keep the doll and donated it to a museum of haunted objects. The doll is still on display at the museum today, and many people claim to have had strange experiences when standing near it. Some people have reported feeling a chill in the air or feeling like they are being watched, while others claim to have seen the doll's eyes move or its expression change. So, that's the story of Lily, a haunted doll that has left many people convinced that there are dark and mysterious forces at work in our world. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, it's hard to deny that there are some things that defy explanation, and that the world is a much stranger and more fascinating place than we often give it credit for.
That was intriguing. That sounds, a lot of these stories pretty much sound the same. It's like, I guess when people get these dolls and, they don't want them in their home, I guess the first thing is to put it in a museum and, have people, I guess say that it's haunted and, things like that. And, and also the people who, psychics who do the readings on these dolls, it's interesting. I would like multiple people to do readings on it and see they come up with the same names. Like, how do they, Lily, Annabelle, Robert, all these different names that they have that they're like, we sure this is the name. We're sure this is, this is this, that's interesting to me. How they come up with these names for these dolls.
For me, it's I hear their name. So
yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, especially, if I was the investigator. I mean, it saddens me to hear like any paranormal investigator, probably because, of course, I mean, they know a little bit, but get rid of the doll. That is the thing that you don't want to do, is getting rid of this doll. If anybody, pays the attention to the one thing I say, stop getting rid of these dolls.
Mm-hmm.
It is if people are worried that, you go on TikTok or Instagram and the place of where bad decisions are born, and bad advice can be found in all corners of the internet. It's not a child's spirit; it's a demon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's a child.
Yeah.
And they're lonely and they're stuck in it all. Asking them if they want to move on and be moved on to the next place, that would be helpful. Or if they're happy in their doll, getting them child things, getting them a doll bed, getting them toys, getting them a house, treating it like it's a childlike doll. And if you stick it in a closet or you stick it in a room, they're all by themselves. And children who are left by themselves for long enough, they're going to start acting out.
Yeah.
And if this little girl died for mysterious circumstances, of course she's upset. She doesn't understand why she's dead, and she doesn't understand why she's in this thing, and she can't do anything. So she's going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
She's going to be mischievous and be naughty and move around and, mean mug people because you're not talking to her.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it is interesting. I'm just curious on, like, I don't know of any, other than the main ones, I don't know of any haunted museum. Like, I wouldn't readily be able to, call downtown Sacramento.
There's several. There's one in Las Vegas that belongs to a person that I'm not going to say his name on the radio.
Oh, you don't like saying? I
don't have nice feelings about him.
Oh no, that's good. No, Silverayne, you can tell those feelings because we're actually because Zach has the Dybbuk box we're actually going to be talking about. So yeah, no, let us know.
He is a very misguided person that I don't think is very professional.
Yeah,
I really, really don't. He wants to have I wasn't very familiar with those boxes, so of course, I've heard of them, but I wasn't like super familiar with them. And I Googled one. I'm like, so taking a line from, Monsters Inc., put that thing back where you found it, or so help me.
Yeah.
Don't touch things. Stop it. Stop touching things.
Yeah.
Stop opening things. Stop touching things.
But here's the thing about that particular thing. We're going to get into that. I don't want to bleed it over only because I have a whole different take on his Dybbuk box anyways. So we're definitely going to get on that. But we do have one more story because again, I like to, go ahead and, regardless of what I never, anybody sends an email, I like to go ahead and put it out and, hear people's stories or opinions or wherever they're finding or getting these stories from. Who knows if they're their personal stories or anything else. So I like to, let people, tell their story, how they see fit. So we're going to have one more story, then we'll definitely get into the Dybbuk box or whatever and Zak Bagans because that's very interesting. So here we go. One more story. Here we go.
The haunting tale of a voodoo doll that is said to be cursed with a malevolent spirit. The story takes place in the heart of Louisiana, in a small town called Bayou Rouge. The town is known for its rich voodoo culture, and it is said that the spirits of the dead still roam the streets. Legend has it that in the early 1900s, a woman named Lucinda created a voodoo doll as a means of seeking revenge against her enemies. The doll was said to be imbued with dark magic, and its purpose was to bring misfortune and suffering to those who crossed Lucinda's path. Over time, the doll became a source of fear and terror among the people of Bayou Rouge. Its reputation grew as more and more people fell victim to its curse. It seemed that anyone who possessed the doll was doomed to a life of tragedy and despair. One such victim was a young girl named Caroline. Caroline's family had been given the doll as a gift, and they had displayed it proudly in their home. However, as time passed, strange things began to happen. At night, Caroline would hear strange whispers and creaks coming from the doll. Objects in her room would move on their own, and she would wake up to find the doll sitting on her bed, as if it had moved on its own. Caroline soon became convinced that the doll was cursed, and she begged her family to get rid of it. However, they refused, believing that it was just her imagination. One night, Caroline was awakened by the sound of the doll moving across the floor. She sat up in bed, terrified, and watched as the doll made its way to her bedside. Suddenly, the doll lunged at her, and she felt a sharp pain in her chest. When Caroline's family found her the next morning, she was lying on the floor, lifeless. The voodoo doll was sitting next to her, as if nothing had happened. From that day on, the haunted voodoo doll disappeared from Bayou Rouge. Some say that it was destroyed, while others believe that it was buried deep in the swamp, where its curse could do no more harm. But to this day, the legend of the cursed voodoo doll lives on in Bayou Rouge. So if you ever find yourself in this mysterious town, be sure to stay away from anything that looks like a voodoo doll. You never know what kind of dark magic might be lurking within.
If you've had a strange experience and would like to be on Strange Darkness Radio, leave a detailed message at 916-741-3032.
Oh, wow. Have you ever heard anything about voodoo dolls or, that whole...
Yes, I have.
scene?
And from what I understood is voodoo dolls were used for healing people.
Oh, okay.
Can they be used for curses? Yes. I don't mess with anything, one, because it's not part of my culture.
Yeah.
So it's a closed practice. So I leave that sort of thing be.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that it was haunted? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
You don't mess with, you don't mess with voodoo. That's all I know. You don't mess with it.
Yeah, that's... My mom's from Louisiana. That's a whole...
What is the reason why you don't mess with voodoo?
Well, aside from it being a closed practice, and a closed practice just means that people that are not of that culture don't practice it unless, you are wanting to learn and you're invited in, or it's, again, part of your own personal heritage. And it's just something I know there's a little bit of, it's very real.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what you're doing, it could end very badly.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I knew in a small circle of friends that this woman had a voodoo curse put on her, and very, very bad things happened to her.
Yeah.
Or no, she messed with the voodoo priestess's boyfriend or something, and her hair fell out, and she gained weight, and it was just bad all around.
You don't want to get involved in those circles for sure. But yeah, the whole voodoo thing, whatever, to me, that's, that mystical realm.
I stick to things that I know, and I like to stay in my own lane, magically wise.
Exactly. All right. Well, so now let's get into the Dybbuk Box, which is very interesting. In my research, again, I'm going to tell the story, but it's very curious on this particular Dybbuk Box because, again, I know there's supposedly more out there and everything else. So, but let's go ahead and get into it. The Dybbuk Box. The Dybbuk Box is a cabinet claimed to be haunted by a Dybbuk, a concept from Jewish mythology. The box gained notoriety when it was auctioned off on eBay by owner Kevin Mannis, who created a story featuring a Jewish Holocaust survivor and a paranormal claims as part of his eBay description. Mannis' story was the inspiration for the 2012 horror film The Possession. In 2021, Mannis told Input magazine that the Dybbuk Box story was entirely fictional in 2003. Writer and furniture refinishing business owner Kevin Mannis purchased the cabinet from the yard sale of a local attorney in Portland, Oregon, and began developing a backstory. According to Mannis, the carving in the back of it is my carving. The stone that was in the box is something that is a signature creation of mine also. Make no mistake, I conceived the Dybbuk Box, the name, the term, the idea, and wrote this creative story around it to post it on eBay. Mannis' auction description included a story claiming that the cabinet was previously owned
by a survivor of the Holocaust in Portland, who said it contained the malicious spirit of a Dybbuk, and that the box had paranormal powers and was responsible for his bad luck and nightmares. Subsequent owners retold Manus' story when reselling the item and amplified it with their own claims of strange phenomena. One owner, Jason Haxton, director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine in Kirksville, Missouri, launched a website that consolidated claims about the cabinet called the DybbukBox.com that reportedly received hundreds of thousands of hits and created what has been described as internet legend. In 2004, Haxton sold the rights to the story to a Hollywood production company. The subsequent film, The Possession, produced by Sam Raimi, was released in 2012. Haxton later gave the cabinet to Ghost Adventure star Zak Bagans to display in his museum. On a side note, in 2018, fans of rapper Post Malone claimed his spat of bad luck was caused by his contact with the Dybbuk Box while at Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum. The Encyclopedia Mythica describes a Dybbuk as a disembodied spirit possessing a living body that belongs to another soul and usually talks from that person's mouth. An important 1914 Yiddish play, The Dybbuk, was about the spirit of a dead man who possessed the living body of the woman he had loved. He had to be exorcised. Nowhere in the folklore literature is there a precedent for a Dybbuk inhabiting a box or other inanimate object. So, even though this story was created to intentionally deceive people, if you get enough people to believe in something, can you manifest it? Can you bring evil to reality? Can you bring to life the maker's intentions? Can you bring that object to life? That is the question.
You can listen to Strange Darkness Radio on iTunes or Spotify or any of your podcast hosting sites.
So yes, that is the question. So as this particular Dybbuk box and the whole concept of it was basically fraudulent. And but my thing is, it's like getting people to believe in something. I believe that people and enough people can manifest, what the thought and what the intent is on whether it's a particular object, whether it's the Slender Man, whether, it's, an entity or, stuff like that. The power of, people's perception or minds, I think, are capable and able to bring this stuff to reality. What do you think, Silverayne?
Absolutely. If you manifest and you feed something for such a long time, your mind is going to just make it so. I actually read about, Post Malone's alleged whatever bad thing that happened to him messing with it.
Oh, yes. And as you say that real quick, not to cut you off, but since you mentioned Post Malone, I do have a snippet to play for the audience. So in Post Malone's own words. So let's go ahead and check that out. Then we'll get back to it.
I'm friends with Zak Bagans from Ghost Adventures, right?
Oh.
And it's like,
did he ever take you to a haunted house?
We did a whole episode. You should check it out.
Did you get scared?
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, man. And in his museum, so apparently there's a thing called the Dybbuk Box, which is one of the most haunted items in the world, apparently. And he wanted to, so we took the glass case off of the Dybbuk Box, which is in his museum in Vegas. And he thought it was a sick-ass idea to put the ashes of a lady who died while she was possessed on top.
Whoa.
And then I was My plane almost crashed. I was in a car accident. My house got robbed, and I had bite marks on my arm. And he hit the wall like I've never seen someone in fear so hard as whenever he touched it. And it's I don't know if it's someone who's dead or if it's a demon or if it's fucking something dimensional. But it's something there that goes bump in the night, I suppose. Stone tape theory, what is that?
Here it is. Haunted rocks, the stone tape theory. The stone tape theory is frequently used as a sciencey sounding quasi explanation to explain hauntings.
Okay,
Amateur
well that's
paranormal
fine.
investigators
That's
use
what,
the
I'm 2
idea
for 2?
to account
Am I 2
for
for
the
2?
appearances of images, sound, and apparitions that do not interact directly with people. Instead, they play out like a movie or recording.
Right.
This is the most commonly termed residual haunting. See, this is what I was saying. Like
2 for 2, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations. Nailed it.
You can listen to Strange Darkness Radio on iTunes or Spotify or any of your podcast hosting sites.
So yeah, that was Post Malone on the Joe Rogan show, talking about his encounters with the Dybbuk Box at Zak Bagans museum in Las Vegas. But again, I'm pretty sure Post Malone didn't know the true backstory of the Dybbuk Box. But the concept of his belief and faith in what he was told and all the energy that's been put on this particular item, I don't know, it's able probably to manifest, things or actually, trap a soul into that box, and let alone him putting someone's ashes on top of that. That's crazy.
So just doing the act alone, whether or not that box was just, a neat trinket to tell a fantastic story,
Yeah.
was irresponsible for one.
Yep.
Of just let's taunt it, let's mess with it just in case. I don't know Post Malone personally to, say without a shadow of a doubt his experience was, because of the result of messing with that.
Yeah.
I'm all about, because of my master's in psychology, causation does not equal correlation.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Joe Rogan, I have my own opinions of that man, so they're not good.
Yeah.
I mean, anything for publicity, and Post Malone is a rapper. Anything for publicity. Did his plane almost crash because he touched ashes? I don't know. To me, even the ashes of the deceased, doing things like that for a parlor trick, I believe is disrespectful.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
I know, like, when people talk about the dead, this is disrespectful or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For starters, the dead they do not care once they're dead, or what you do to their ashes or to their body. But just a thought, having recently lost my cat last month, I don't want to mess with his ashes.
Yeah.
That's part of my animal. And it holds sentiment to me. And to the thought of just using him as some weird parlor trick is just, I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
For Zach to get a rise out of people, and, if it's not haunted, okay. But if the off chance that anything can be a vessel, and I've made vessels for restless, entities to have somewhere to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the whole thing is a mess. And if you're really going to have a paranormal museum, there's a couple that I follow. It's Greg and Dana Newkirk. They're fantastic people. They do a traveling paranormal show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they deal with haunted objects, they do with the utmost respect. I mean, when they're in contact with objects that could be haunted, let's not tempt fate from poking the bear. Stop poking the bear.
Yeah, but that's what humans do for whatever reason. It's crazy until, that's the plot line for most horror movies. It's like, let's
Right.
see. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Man, I just think it's crazy. I wouldn't be messing with it either way. That's my personal opinion. When people do mess with ashes and stuff, that is kind of disrespectful because
Oh,
the
for
person
sure.
was living at one point. I wouldn't want to mess with your loved one's ashes just to get like a reaction out of something or
Exactly.
a paranormal type of activity. By putting somebody's ashes on there. Like I died, I didn't ask you to put my ashes
Yeah.
on the Dybbuk box, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's crazy. I think when you mess with stuff like that, like you said, you're gonna get something back that you didn't want in the first place.
And the other part of it is once, if she was possessed before she had died,
Mhm.
her being ashes, that's null and void. It's just ashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Your
know though.
ashes were burnt in a fire.
Well, hang on though, because her ashes, she could have been hovering around whatever box her ashes was in, and she's the one that was really haunting Post Malone for them sitting there giggling or whatever, of putting her ashes on that Dybbuk box.
But I would be
So,
mad if you use my ashes for something. Don't use my ashes, man. Let me rest.
yeah, but see, that's when it goes into people donating all kind of different things to these museums. And
Right.
who's to say how they're going to store them and keep them? Because just like just like Silverayne was saying, if you think a doll is possessed and you don't want to, throw it in the garbage or dismantle it or bury it or do something like that because you're scared of it, you want to send it to a museum. Who knows how that's going to stay in storage or how long it sits there because it doesn't have a popular name to it and how they're going to treat it. So it's interesting. That's interesting.
I mean, spirits have a tendency to be naughty and do things for their own amusement once they're dead.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, what else do you have to do? You're dead.
Yeah, you're trying to figure
You're
it
going to
out.
make the most of it.
Exactly. No, that's very true. That is so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when it comes to a star or a rapper or a movie star, you're doing stuff for publicity at that point. It's just another way to get your name out there.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just because you had a set of unfortunate incidents or mishaps, who's to say what it was tied to? Unless again, unless they were doing something really wild, in that museum, just him and Zach, in there, and and again, I'm not. I used to be watch Ghost Adventures or whatever it was called back in the day, but to me, it just seems like there's a lot of things that are going on that show that are, I won't say faked, but I'll just say, because you don't need to fake anything by you just being surprised or screaming or acting afraid or, have a camera pointed down a dark hallway. There's not much to it or whatever. I won't say they actually had people in the hallway moving around or moving items, but yeah, just, listening to, I forgot, I think his name was Aaron, who used to be on the show, and what was going on with Zach and all that personal stuff, whatever. I think there was a lot more to Zach's story than
it was Nick. It was Nick.
Was it Nick?
Nick was on the show. Yeah,
okay.
Aaron's still on the show.
Okay, got it. Nick Ross or something like that. I forgot his name. But yeah.
And just thinking about what he did with that box, just let's pretend for the off chance that it was a legitimately haunted object. Why are you messing with it and doing things let's mess with it. Let's take it out of, because when objects are put behind glass, that kind of creates a barrier. It's trapped. It can't do anything. And then you just open it. It's like Pandora. Has anybody not learned from Pandora's box? I mean, it's crazy that you're going to take the chance and mess around with something for your own amusement.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure.
Because
Definitely.
I guarantee he wouldn't do that for a normal person. So let's do it to some famous person and let's get a rise out of. We're going to put, ashes of a possessed woman on a haunted box.
Exactly. Yep. No, that's
That's a
very true.
recipe for disaster.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, Silverayne, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight on Strange Darkness Radio. It was amazing having you on, and the knowledge is just incredible. And all the things that you do, if you guys let them know what you do, Silverayne, as far as all your, gifts and classes and different things, whatever that you have going on, so people can hit you up.
Yes, right now I offer a trauma healing and recovery group on Facebook. It's called Silver Lotus Academy. I offer a one-time membership fee for lifetime access. And my modalities are spicy psychology, which is crystal healing, Reiki mixed with cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. I also have my gift shop. It's Iggy's Oddities. It's named after my cat who passed away last month. I also have my divinations by Silverayne, which I offer tarot, rune readings, wax, and pendulum reads.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you for being on the show. It was interesting having you on, especially somebody
Thank you for having me again.
does the practices you do. Anytime you want to come back, we'll have you on.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be awesome.
Yes, for sure. Alrighty. So this is Strange Darkness Radio with Silverayne and Tony Carr, and we're out.
I am Buzz Aldrin, and I was the lunar module pilot on Apollo 11.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
The truth is that we've never proved one, but there are things flying around up there that we haven't fully identified yet. And keep in mind, there are basically 1 billion galaxies in an ever-expanding universe. I mean, you can't even get your mind around the sheer number of things that are out there.
People still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is. There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you.